If we could have people come into the room and take a seat, please. Any stragglers in the hallway? Roberta, are there people standing outside the door you can convince to come in? Thank you. T-minus 30 seconds and counting. That was meant to be a joke. Time is ticking. Yes, we have liftoff. Is that what I'm hearing, Scott? Yeah. You still got stragglers coming in? That's it. Roberta says everybody's inside. Okay, thank you very much. And welcome to the 2017 Annual General Membership Meeting of the Society of Motion Pictures and Television Engineers. As is required by our bylaws, we must have at least one annual meeting every year to take care of society business. And because I don't want to be here too long between you and the beers at Oktoberfest, without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to our Executive Director, Barbara Lange.
Good afternoon. Thank you all for coming. We're going to talk about the highlights of 2017, but before I do that, I wanted to throw it back to something from last year.
I see movie making as an art form that's a combination of art and technology. It's the art of drama, performance, emotion, photography, lighting, visual effects, editing, and all these things that make up, whether it's movies or television. And it's an incredibly powerful art form that influences the whole planet. And I'm really proud to be part of this industry. I want to thank you all for this honor. This is just such a great honor tonight to be acknowledged for pioneering new ways to make movies and new ways to make entertainment. And I'm really proud of what we've been doing. And we couldn't do what we do. I couldn't do what I do if I couldn't buy a really great digital projector or a really great digital camera or a really great digital post-production tool. And so I'm very indebted to all of you for making all this stuff possible, because what you're doing is way ahead of what the creative community is doing with it. Thank you very much.
To be here with a group of engineers and to be acknowledged by engineers is so much more meaningful to me, truthfully, than all the kind of glitz and glamour of the kind of artistic side of Hollywood in a way, because at heart, you guys are my peeps. I mean, I love engineering, but I celebrate engineers. The Oscars and the Emmys, they celebrate the artist. But there'd be no art in this highly technical art form of ours without engineers. So I want to close by thanking SMPTE for what you do. What you do day in and day out, and what you've done for 100 years, which is constantly improving visual entertainment, sometimes in small incremental steps, sometimes in breathtaking leaps. It's only when you stop and look back over a century that you see how far we've come. It's dazzling. It's astounding. It's magic. Thank you.
I had the pleasure of digging that up earlier, a few weeks ago, and I just thought, that's pretty cool, very cool. And speaking of miracles and magic, we are actually just about ready to publish our Centennial coffee table book to talk about the history of not only the moving image in science and technology, but also the influence that this society has had on that. We do have advanced copies for review over at the membership table out on the patio, and the book is ready, should be ready just in time for Christmas, and it's for you SMPTE members, advanced price of $59.94, which I understand is a fun figure. Anyway, it's a great book. Yeah, you just got it? Okay. It took a while. It's hot, I know. Anyway, so it's about 400 pages. It's Phil Cianci edited with a lot of input from a lot of people, and I thank you all for your participation in that, and I hope you'll buy one. Another piece of work that we're working on looks now to the future, the next century. Earlier this year, the board settled into a program of doing some strategic thinking. We call it Vision 2020, where each of the three pillars of education, standards, and membership have gotten together to think about what does the future look like? What will we be in not just the next century, but even just the next 3 to 5 years? And we've been doing a lot of great work. The board has narrowed down to a lot of tactics, which is not surprising among engineers. And so we are working on, now we're in the process of working on strategic objectives that will help guide us. And the ultimate goal here is that we have a roadmap and a business plan so that as this industry changes, because it is, we know that SMPTE will have a long and sustainable future. And it's a lot of heavy lifting. There's a lot of activity and discussion happening among the board, not always in consensus, but that's what we're driving for right now. And if you see a board member and you have an opinion about what you think the society should be doing, I'm sure they would be happy to hear about it. And you'll be hearing more about this as we move on and settle on that, those objectives and our next roadmap plan. So talking about the Centennial, I also want to continue to thank the donors who have given to our Next Century Fund. The Next Century Fund was established in 2014 to really highlight, using the Centennial of 2016 to highlight SMPTE as an organization that has given so much to the industry. And these organizations and people have been so generous in their pockets to help to donate and contribute to the fund. The fund is being used for specifically those strategic objectives that I talked about before. We haven't really spent any of the money yet for these objectives because we want to make sure that what we are investing in is indeed part of that roadmap. And we are going to renew the campaign. Our campaign was for $4 million. We have just shy of 1.8 million in commitments and over $1 million actually received. So I think that's a pretty good testament that not only are people pledging, but they're also contributing their dollars. So you will be hearing more also about the investment in these programs as part of the Vision 2020 program. And I want to thank, and actually we should thank them out loud, all the donors. A little little bit about the finances. The finances are fine, but as we go through this change in our industry, we need to be mindful of how we are investing. It's all part of the same story. Our major sources of revenue come through our membership, our dividend as part of the IBC. This conference is a major contributor, and then all the other things that we do, including our subscriptions to the digital library, our educational courses, and advertising and sponsorships. All of that is coming together to help fund the organization and the various initiatives that we have. Speaking of our investments, we have a reserve fund that's just over $4 million, and that actually would cover 1 year of our operations if we had no other future business. So the society is healthy today, and we don't foresee any major hiccups coming down the line, but we certainly are managing it because we know this industry is changing and we need to be ready for whatever comes down the line. So I want to talk a little bit about the highlights of our 3 pillars. First, I'm going to look at membership. There's been a lot of work in membership. Currently, our membership is just about 6,600 individuals and about 250 companies. It's a little less than we saw this time last year. I think that's an expression of the consolidation in the industry and the shifting, but we are not fearful that people are not joining. I think it's just a change, and we are doing our best to articulate the value proposition. We're also very pleased to see revitalization in areas. We already saw that the Florida section has come back about a year ago. The Pacific Northwest section is actually also coming back, doing some very good programming. And as we mentioned last year at this time, we have a new section in Poland that I had the pleasure of visiting on one of my trips, and they're doing really wonderful things. So you see pockets of individuals who are interested in what SMPTE has to offer in terms of that local education. I understand, I just learned here during this week that Detroit and Chicago are also interested in reestablishing those sections, and we're delighted to hear about that. We are seeing that shift in membership on the sustaining membership side, that is the corporate side. We still have our traditional base of broadcast and studios and manufacturers, but we also are beginning to see new companies joining who are coming from the shall we say, the new media part of the business in software and streaming and workflows, and also quite nicely from all around the world. We have even members in China and all parts of Europe, and of course the US and Canada primarily. The other thing I want to point out is the activity at the local section. So we have 26 sections around the world, and many of them are doing local activities that are much more than just a monthly meeting. The Australia section, and I know Paul Broderick is in the house, as well as John Maisels, has a very popular and important event every 2 years in Australia. Washington, D.C. has the Bits by the Bay, which Peter Wharton is the face of Peter Wharton, which is also very popular and sold out down there in the Chesapeake Beach. We have boot camps in Montreal and Toronto. Montreal generated over 120 new members at their boot camp this summer. Our UK section is doing great things. I think Peter Weitzel has helped to organize, I don't know, more section events than is humanly possible, I think, and many popular ones, including on 2110. San Francisco section is taking on the heavy lifting of Entertainment Technology Conference, which is in the cradle of Silicon Valley this year, hosted by Google, which is really last year by Microsoft, this year by Google, is really showing off the relationship that we're building between traditional and the new media space. The Florida section, that brand new revitalized section, is having a small event in December, and our friends in Italy and Hong Kong are doing annual workshops each year. So all the sections are busy doing their own thing to satisfy the local groups, and we are delighted from the home office to be able to help them as best we can. Wanted to highlight our landscape of changing members. This is the reflection of our diamond level membership as of last year, and I'm not calling people out, but I just want to point out that we've seen a consolidation in a couple of areas. Whoops, I went back. Well, that was so quick, I went right past it. I apologize. But the point being that we are starting to see the transition of some of the traditional media, and we're doing our best to make sure that we have a place for not only our traditional media, but also the new media. Speaking of new future, we want to talk to the young people, and we are continuing to work on encouraging young people to enter the field. The photograph there on the right is at NAB, and it is our annual student social at the booth. Probably 75 people there, students coming from all over the world even, to visit with us and to learn and mix and mingle. And the photo on the left was last night at the Student Film Festival here at the Chinese Theater. The Student Film Festival is about the creative filmmaker, and it's our cooperation with the HPA to try to reach into that community and teach them about who SMPTE and HPA are. And watching those films is just really inspiring. They're amazing pieces of work. This year we had almost 120 submissions from 30 countries around the world. We screened, I think, 17 last night, and just amazing, amazing pieces. And the young man who asked the question of the keynote speaker this morning was the winner of the Audience Choice Award, and he's a young, aspiring filmmaker who is interested in VR as a form of storytelling. So there's the connection right there. We hope that we can continue to do activities like that, and we do think we're going to evolve the Student Film Festival a bit, but we're really excited that there are so many young people interested in it. Flipping now to standards, I want to highlight a few standards. There's a lot of standards work going on, and the commitment from so many people. It's quite amazing. This year, in fact, standards meetings were held in Silicon Valley, in the UK, in Shanghai, and again up in Silicon Valley later in December. So really a global activity and pretty much 24/7 activity. So this is just a snippet of a few highlights. One is that the AXF standard was just recently adopted by ISO and IEC, which means it's a globally adopted standard, and we're really excited about that and it getting some play on a more international platform. And I think we heard yesterday the fellow from Google talking about AXF and their interest in it. So that's really, really exciting. We're also doing some work, interesting work in the IMF space. Of course, there is the standard that is being developed and constantly being worked on. We also have a partnership with the DPP. I see Mark Harrison is in the house. And this is a very specific, this is a new endeavor. It's a pilot project where SMPTE and DPP are working together on developing a specification for broadcast and online delivery. And so we hope that it's really a very specific application of IMF, and that this may be a new direction for SMPTE to move into alongside our committed standards work. In addition, our friends over at the HPA launched a user group that is focused on the IMF. They are holding quarterly meetings and inviting anybody who's interested and committed to working with IMF to come together to talk about their concerns, their issues, how to make things better, and then that feedback, that information we hope will feed back into the standards committee work. So it allows us to have this user input into the standards work, which of course is so vital for us. So this question of standards versus specifications, it's something that gets bandied about back and forth, oftentimes interchanged, and of course when I hear that I say no, a standard is not the same as or a specification is not the same as a standard, and we're starting to do a lot more articulation about that. There's a value in having both types of documents out there, and we are exploring how we can have a more prominent role also on the specification side. And of course, 2110, probably the most eagerly awaited standard in recent times. A lot of activity over the last year and a half or so with various showcases being presented at NAB and IBC and at SMPTE. So when you go over for your beer at the Oktoberfest, I do hope that you'll take time to wander off to the corner and take a look at the many vendors who are participating in the showcase there to show that moving professional media over IP networks does and can work using SMPTE's 2110 standard and some ancillary specifications. So it's really exciting. I've been told this is almost as big as the next phase from a transformation in the industry. I believe that's true for many people that I've talked to, and it's very exciting that SMPTE is in the middle of it. And then there is a host of other stuff. And actually, the VR is quite interesting, especially since we heard today from our keynote speaker, a study group is being formed on that. So we were called to challenge this morning, and I hope that we will be able to meet that. In the world of education, well, you're here at this event, and I hope you are finding it wonderful. Last year was our highest registration in recent years, and we were, just before we arrived here, we were surpassing the registration from last year. I think you can already tell that there is more activity here in Hollywood, and we are absolutely educating more people today than we have in probably ever before, between the conference, the webcasts, and our 4 courses that we're offering, soon to be 5. We are hoping that we are satisfying the industry needs through our education. And then, of course, we have the journal, award-winning journal, I am happy to report. And in 2018, we are going to add a 10th issue. It wasn't too long ago that we were only publishing 8 issues. We are now publishing 9. Next year, we're adding another issue. It will be an online-only issue, but it's another issue that fulfills the important work that that the journal offers. And all of our content is available on the SMPTE Digital Library that happens to live on the IEEE Explore platform. And if you're interested in learning how to get the most out of that, the IEEE colleagues are here and have a booth, and I would encourage you to spend some time with them to learn more about that. So a little bit about this conference, of course. We're over 2,000 attendees here between delegates, exhibitors, and all the people coming in. There's 2 exhibit halls. There are over 70 technical papers. We had the Fellows Luncheon today. We had the Women in Tech Luncheon yesterday. We have an Oktoberfest today. We have a spectacular tomorrow. I hope you're all going to wear your costumes, the Student Film Festival last night, and the awards gala on Thursday. Not to mention board meetings and committee meetings alongside. So a busy week for all of us, and very grateful that you're all here to enjoy it. On Thursday, we will be recognizing a number of individuals, from Ren McMahon, who is being inducted into the honor roll, to Paula DeBevic is our Progress Medal Award winner, and many others. I hope you will join us on Thursday to recognize the people who are really leaders in the industry. These are a few more people. I think we have a total of 37 individuals who we will be recognizing on Thursday evening. And of course, earlier today, we recognized all of our fellows who are being inducted this year. And if the fellows are here, would you mind standing up and being recognized? Congratulations. And you may have noticed, we're moving. Say goodbye to Hollywood. This is the last time, at least for now, at least, that we will be here at the Lowe's Hollywood and Highland Complex. We've just outgrown it. That's really the bottom line. We now, as you know, for the last 3 years have had 2 exhibit halls. We didn't have enough space for all of the content that we want to deliver. And so next year, same dates, different location. And for anybody who shows up here next year and doesn't get down to downtown, I don't know, we'll find you for sure. Anyway, we're going to be at the Westin Bonaventure, which is in downtown LA. I know it's a change. It will definitely. I think I can assure you though that if it's 105 degrees next year, that almost all of the activity will be indoors, and so I think you'll have air conditioning for the fellows' luncheon. I promise. Okay. And change is hard, but we are going to do our very best to make sure that it's just a change in location, and the goodness and excellence of our content and exhibition will remain. I want to talk briefly about our friends at the HPA. This new brand came out a little over a year ago, and as you can see, in that time, they've really expanded in a lot of different areas. Of course, you probably know the HPA for the Tech Retreat in Palm Springs, and of course, their awards program, which takes place in November. But they've expanded in doing a tech retreat in the UK. They have expanded by adding a young entertainment professionals program, and these young people will be here tomorrow. They get a whole day of mentorship and experience or interaction with leadership, and a tour of the exhibition hall, and opportunities to meet and get excited about being in this industry. They started the user group I mentioned. They reinvigorated a program for networking, education, and technology. These are lunch and learn type events all throughout the LA area, and a new mentoring program that Leon Silverman is named in Leon Silverman's honor. And so a lot of activity that is happening within the HPA family. And they are also moving. So next year, if you do go to the Tech Retreat, and I highly recommend it in February, don't go to where you went this year at the Hyatt Regency. It is at a new location, the JW Marriott in Palm Desert. But the dates are basically the same. So next year, new location. And even SMPTE and HPA moved. So there on the left, that's the front door of our new office in White Plains. We moved around the corner to a slightly larger space, and would love anybody who's in the New York area to come on by and visit us. And our friends in HPA moved from downtown LA up to Burbank, which is much more convenient and local to the HPA membership. So very excited for the whole staff trying to manage this, doing all our day jobs and yet also moving, and it wasn't very easy in the middle of the summer, but they did it and we're all settled in. So now I'd like to recognize our new leadership. Hopefully many of you are in the room. We just recently concluded our election, so we have a few new officers joining the executive committee. So Hans Hoffman, is he here? I saw him earlier. He is. There he is in the back. He's going to take on the finance role. Peter Wharton, here up front, is moving from Secretary-Treasurer to Membership Vice President. Bruce Devlin over there is going to be our new Standards Vice President. John Furter is, there he is. He was just appointed as Secretary-Treasurer, filling the role from Peter Wharton. And they are joining the other members of the executive committee who were not whose term are not up yet. So that's Matthew Goldman. You already know him. Bob Seidel, I see there. Pat Griffiths, I see there, and Richard. Richard, yay! Richard's there. Great. I look forward to working with all of you. And our new board members. So Paul Briscoe, representing Canada. Paul is, I know, taking care of the IP showcase. Ward Hansford out in Asia Pacific is not here with us. Seth Hallen will be representing the HPA. He's the president of the HPA, so he gets a seat on the SMPTE board. Siegfried Frössel is re-elected. There's Siegfried, thank you. And Mark Harrison taking care of the UK region. So thank you all. And there's more. So we have Renard Jenkins. Is he in the house? There he is. Thank you. Renard taking care of the Eastern region. Rick Ackerman, Southern region. Sarah Cutterly. This is great. You're all here. I love it. Ben Wagner, I saw. Yes, Ben Wagner's taking care of the Western region. and Paul Chapman taking care of the Hollywood region. So thank you very much. It's a great group, and I'm really excited. And we have to say thank you to all those board members who are leaving us. Bill Miller, for his true dedication as membership VP, and I know we while they may be leaving the board now, we know that we want to stay engaged with all of you. So Bill Miller is outgoing membership VP. Is he here? He's usually. Okay. I'm out of here. Paul Steckley, I think I saw Paul. There's Paul. Yes, Finance VP. Alan Lamshed, who is, where is he? There he is. I saw him. John Luff from Eastern Region, thank you. Patricia Keeley, I think I saw Patricia. Dan Burnett, Mark Narvison from the Western Region, John Maisels from Australia, and Leon Silverman from Hollywood. And last but not least, I want to thank the staff. This is the staff, including our friends at HPA, because we are one big happy family. You will see many of the staff here working together to make sure that you have a great event, not only here, but that you have a valuable SMPTE and HPA membership that you will want to continue to support. So we are here at your service, but they do a whole lot of heavy lifting. So much sausages are being made behind the scenes, you have no idea. But they put on a great face, and I hope are serving you in the best way possible. So I'd really like to thank them for all that they've been doing. And I believe that's it for us. So if there are any questions, I'm happy to entertain them. Otherwise, I please welcome you to enjoy a beer or two at the Oktoberfest. Thank you.